Hi, my name is Jill Phillips. My love for animals is strong. At age 5, I would try to save the birds my brother cruelly shot down with his slingshot. Animal cruelty stabs me right in my heart. My father and I always watched animal documentaries together, marveling in their very existence. We still do. But for many animals, that very existence is in peril. Too many animals face extinctions or are cruelly treated. I once owned a horse ranch. It was my lifelong dream. We had a huge house, an even larger barn with 7 stalls, an indoor riding arena, and 2 large pastures. We had many animals, included horses, dogs, cats, rabbits, a mama sheep and her lamb for a short time, and an iguana. Tragedy struck, and I lost it. Afterwards, I couldn't afford to keep 3 horses that my children and I owned. I decided to sell one at auction named Scooter. A year later, boarding 2 horses became overwhelming, and I was forced to sell another horse at auction named Rusty. I returned to college in 2011 at the same time that my daughter was studying in Bloomington. Unknown to me, my daughter and I were simultaneously writing research papers on the same subject, horse slaughter. We decided to work together on the paper. Our research revealed the grisly facts of the industry. Because the price we received for Scooter and Rusty at auction was the same, we realized our fate, and we both broke down into tears. My work is about animal welfare and the environmental issues. The artwork I create using printing processes and painting alert viewers to well-known species that are endangered or face animal cruelty, and then broadening out to habitat destruction and climate change. The first example, which is included in my show, is a set of 5 intaglio prints of elephants. Elephants are slaughtered for their ivory tusks for tchotchkes, or dubious medical properties. While doing research about elephants, I discovered that 144,000 elephants were slaughtered between 2007 and 2014 alone. If that slaughter continues, 377,000 elephants will die by 2025. Although those numbers are alarming, we can only grasp that statistic when we discover that there are 415,000 elephants in Africa, and the Asian elephant is even more critical, with only 40,000 remaining worldwide. The World Elephant Day organization stated that 62% of the elephants in the wild have dropped in the past decade. One main reason is that the price for ivory tripled in China from 2010 to 2014. The intaglio process creates identical images called an addition. You carve out an image on a plate, in this case a plastic plate. You ink the plate, put the paper down, run it through the press, re-ink the plate, and run it through the press again. However, because elephants are disappearing, I chose not to re-ink the plate, but continued to run it through the press. The image faded with each pass as a metaphor for the elephants disappearing from our world. Imagine a world where elephants only lived in books. Another example is the Wisconsin wolf hunt. Having been hunted to extinction, wolves were reintroduced in the 1990s. There were 1,000 wolves in Wisconsin forests. The Wisconsin Fish and Game Department sponsored a cull of the wolf population. 200 hunters were selected by lottery to kill 1 wolf each. On the first day, by noon, they had already killed 233. On the day of the hunt, I planned to make a print of a wolf, and I stumbled upon a wolf hunting Facebook page. Proud men and women glorifying their kills. What upset me the most was 2 men kneeling on each side of the pickup truck, the bed overflowing with what must have been 30 carcasses of dead wolves. I left a comment on the page and was promptly blocked. The list could go on. Using the block print method, I created a set of prints appropriating the format of a missing person alerts. I hung them up around campus. Have you seen me? A polar bear, tiger, giraffe, and bald eagle, with their numbers remaining in the wild. all well-known and cherished animals that are on the endangered species list. The next is the most critically endangered animal in the world, the Amer leopard, with only 70 remaining in the wild. They live in southeast Russia and northeast China. But there is good news. The territories, the locals, and the zoos have implemented a plan to prevent their demise and help them repopulate. This is an integlia print with a brass plate that is etched using a chemical process. In order to get the color gradient, I chose to paint the protectant layer over each row of numbers one at a time to do the chemical process again, which is a long process that took 9 different steps. But right here in the United States, we have some of the most animal cruelty incidences there are. The horrendous act of killing bears in their dens while they hibernate has been declared legal. This is another block printing I carved out of an oval slice of a branch that gave it a natural look. Lastly, the most beautiful of all animals, the majestic horse, being brutally slaughtered while others frightfully listen on and waiting their fate. I personally know how that tragic story ends. The problem is not limited to individual species. It's about tensions between industrial interests, catastrophic increased human population, which decreases animal habitat, and the growing global catastrophe of climate change. Climate change is real. I witnessed it firsthand. I was lucky enough to take a trip of a lifetime to Alaska last summer to visit my niece Nicole. And if things couldn't get any better, I was surprised by my daughter Jacqueline, as she was my flight attendant on my flight. Nicole brought me on many adventures. One was to the Norman Lowell Art Gallery. He is a famous artist in Alaska who has painted hundreds of beautiful scenes around Alaska for the past 60 years. I was in awe of these beautiful paintings. I saw that beauty, but I also saw all the catastrophic issues plaguing that majestic land. I brought along some art supplies. I spent many days hiking around and drawing all the beauty I'd witnessed. I chose to paint these catastrophic events to show that even though there is beauty in them, we still need to be alarmed. The following are a series of paintings based on my trip to Alaska, where I encountered many environmental issues. While on our drive down from Anchorage to Homer, where my niece lives, we stopped at many beautiful yet devastating places. The Portage Glacier. Developed during the Ice Age, what in 1914 had been an enormous glacier is now Portage Lake that took 30 minutes by boat to traverse to the remaining glacier cast upon the Chukach Mountains. The only remaining part of the glacier is projected to be gone within the next 40 years. I am so grateful that my daughter, my niece, and I could witness it before it is all gone. I painted this memory in oil because of its translucency, which is reminiscent of one of the most majestic scenes I'd ever witnessed, knowing that by 2060 it will be all gone. My Alaska artwork covers issues pertaining to sockeye salmon, where their fate lies in the hands of the courts battling mining for salmon rights. I created this with pastels, which shows its bright pastel colors and is reflected on how bright and colorful sockeye salmon are. The next painting is of the 2018 forest fire in the Kenai mountain range that destroyed 170,000 acres, which are now covered with beautiful lilac fireweed. As we drove to Homer, we had to drive through the Kenai mountain range, and I was overcome with grief witnessing the miles and miles of the destruction. My final painting is of a serene sea of deep, dark, ice-cold blue with an infinite number of small icebergs and a single polar bear floating away. I did not witness this in Alaska, but climate change and the icebergs melting away are something that I am very concerned about. Polar bears are on the endangered species list, and that is a direct result of loss of their sea ice habitat. This journey of creating artwork that follows my passion of animals and the environment has been a very powerful experience, one that was partly inspired by my trip to Alaska, but my drive has been traveling almost my entire life.